Hi guys, and we're back. Remember in this video, I had mentioned at the last time that we're going to make this visit method a bit better, similar to this one, so that it always checks whether it finds a planet of that name. Because right now, if you remember, it just kind of exits. It says traveling to that random planet, but then it never actually finds it, obviously, because it doesn't exist. But I'm sure you guys can figure out how to do it after. I'm going to spend this video talking about a bit new information because we'd basically be doing something similar to this using concepts we've already mentioned. So if you remember, we had this to do here left, the travel to random planet. So in this case, we want to get a random planet, and to do this, there are a few ways, but we could. So basically, there's a C method in iOS, in Swift and Objective-C. It's called arc for random uniform, and you don't really need to understand why it's called that, but it's there's no very extremely elegant random method in Swift. So we're gonna say so what we're actually doing here is we're gonna get a random element, and to do this, I'm gonna introduce the concept of a uh, computed property. So we're going to say, let's assume that this planetary system has some variable called random planet, which we're going to make just now. So it would be good if this existed, because then we could get a random planet from planetary system without having to have the code for finding a random planet inside the space adventure class, because it probably belongs inside the planetary system class. So we could make a method called like get random planet, and then it would like output a planet object. And then we could very well do this, but it's a bit cleaner if we use one of Swift's unique concepts called a computed property, where we can basically say uh, hold it as a variable that changes every time you call it. It recalculates recomputes its properties value every time you access that property. So we can declare a variable just like we do before, except this time we're gonna make it as if it's a function actually. So we can say, um, so we can return planets. And so what this is doing is getting the first element of the planets array, which is not random at all, and we're going to change this in a second. And it could be bad because what if planets is empty? So it might not always have the 0th element. So, but just to show you, you can return planet values from a computed property, meaning that it'll basically execute this code every time in order to get you the random planet object. So to do this, we're going to remember that arc for random Swift or C method, and to, basically what it is so it's basically this. You probably don't want to type all of it, so I did arc for, and then if the autocomplete didn't pop up for you, you can hit control space and it will, and you can click this arc for random uniform. And you see that it takes a variable called upper bound, and it's of type uint32. We dealt with ints before, but we didn't deal with uint32s. And the reason it looks for this is because it's C, and C doesn't have ints, and it's a bit messy. So 32 actually means that it's 32 bits, meaning that it's 2 bytes if you know that or sorry, it's 4 bytes if you know that 1 byte is 8 bits. So, but in C you almost always have to deal with memory. In Swift it doesn't really matter, but Swift has these built-in uint32 classes just in case you want to deal with C in this case. So what we want to give it, because we want a random number from 0 to an upper bound of the number of elements in the planets. So we can say planets.count. So if you notice, planets is an int, so this doesn't exactly work, or it might actually, no, yeah, it doesn't. So this isn't a this isn't a uint32, so we actually have this fixit in Xcode that does it for us. So if we click on this and then hit enter, it'll do it for us. So, but basically what this is doing is it's constructing a uint32 from a normal int, which is count is an int. If you click option on it, if you click option, click on it, you'll notice that this is an int, and this is how it's declared. This is a declaration in Apple, and you'll notice that this is actually a computed property. Yeah, and Apple uses them too. So that's how that works. But so now we just have this number. We have this, number, and let's say we have 8 planets, we might get 0 one time, we might get 3, we might get 5, we might get just random number from 0 through 8. But an 8 is an upper bound, so 8 can't actually be chosen. It can only be 0 through 7. So let's say this is an index. So now we make our index variable, and because arc for random outputs, we can option click on it, and we see that it outputs its input is this upper bound, and then it outputs a uint32. So we don't want but basically what we want to do is get the index get that random index and then get the planet at that index. But what you find here is that you can't use uint32s to index arrays. So what we do is we convert it here again. This looks kind of messy, but basically we're converting planets.count to a uint32 because arc for random only deals with uint32s, and then you convert it back to an int for Swift to use, because remember, arc for random is a C method, so it doesn't know what ints are. So you basically translate it like that, and you end up with a planets array. I mean, you end up getting a random element in the planets array. So when we go back here, we're getting this random planet of our planetary system, and we can just say, so remember, we visit with a planet name, so we can say visit, we can say let planet so so we create a variable which is getting a random planet from our planetary system, and we can visit that planet by, remember, our visit method takes planet name, so we can say planet.name. So this means that we're getting our random planet, and then we're visiting it. So if we run this, and let's say yes this time, because we want to go to a random place. This time we ended up at Mercury. Let's run this again. Because right now we only have 2 planets, so it's about planets, so it's about a 50-50 chance. This time we ended up at Mercury again. Let's try to get to Neptune. Okay, this time we ended up at Neptune. It's a 50-50 chance, and it's random. But let's say that we didn't have any planets. We didn't have any planets at all. So I'm going to comment these 2 additions to our planetary system planets with a big comment, and so this is a multilinear comment which can be started with the slash like usual, except instead of another slash following it, you use a star, an asterisk, and then after the code you want to comment, to close the comment, if you notice everything got commented right now, to close the comment you use another asterisk and then your slash. So now this code doesn't exist anymore. it's just a comment, so the computer doesn't even know it's there. So now we're not adding any planets. And you'll see there's 0 planets to explore again. So we enter in our name, and then let's say random again. And what happened here is that we got a runtime error because, and now that Xcode is caught up, it's saying that we got fatal error, index out of range. So to debug this, we can see what's actually happening. And because Xcode has a built-in debugger, we can see what our index value was actually giving us by just hovering over index. And we see because planets planets.count must have been 0, and then our arc for random gave us 0, as you see when we're hovering over right here. So we got 0, and then it tried to access planets 0, the first element in planets, but there's already no planets in there, so it got an index out of bound error. So what we can do now, we're going to fix this in the next video, where we'll be learning about optionals.